decision. I'll face the sunny side head on. I had a vision of what it might be like to reach.
Welcome to For Crying Out Loud. A little different voice starting the show for us today. Hi, Lynette.
Hi, Stephanie.
We're super excited because we have a special guest that I forced to come on the show. And she's a friend of mine. She's a comedian. She's an Emmy-nominated WGA award-winning writer for Conan. Yeah, she's
Wow.
yeah, she's also written for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Oh, we'll have to ask you about that. The Late Late Show and Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn. She's performed stand-up on Conan, The Late Late Show. There's so many things in her bio. I don't have to read you everything. She's also written 2 books, Dead People Suck and the New York Times bestseller Shitty Mom. You guys probably read that. She's got a podcast called The Jackie and Laurie Show. And right now she has a new comedy special, and it's called Cis Woke Grief Slut. And it already dropped. It's on Apple TV. Mm-hmm. And I've watched it. It's super funny. Her name is Laurie Kilmartin. Hi, Laurie.
Thanks, you guys. This is so exciting. What a beautiful studio you have, too.
Thank you.
Well, thanks. It's not ours.
It is for the next hour, so I'm complimenting you.
Yes. It's our friend Patrick's house. He has a podcast called Bad TV.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And when we left our previous studio, we were studioless, which is so sad.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
should
it's
be programmed
devastating.
for that.
Yes.
People that don't have studios. And our friend Patrick offered us his studio.
Cool.
Yeah. Worked out.
So you're also a mom.
Correct. Yes. For about 6 more months. And then he turns 18, right? And I wash my hands of it?
Yes.
Is that it?
But he's only a junior. We were talking before
That's
the
true.
show, and he's
Yeah.
only a junior. So you have the rest of the school year,
Yeah.
and then you have next year.
Yeah.
You're lucky. Yeah. Because I'm thinking about it, and it's
I know.
my kids graduate on June 6th and turn 18 on June 7th.
Oh, my
And
God.
It's like, yeah, all in 1 week.
It's so
Yeah.
huge because and plus with twins, I mean, the whole thing took over your life for 18 years.
Yeah.
And now what?
Now what?
I mean, some of it, I don't know if that they're going to leave home necessarily. Housing prices, like the whole world that is offered to them is kind of, a little terrifying, I think. I see my son staying at home for a couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird how when you have a kid, especially when you're like a comedian, right? Then you have a kid and your whole life does change.
Yeah.
Even if you think it's not going to, and it's like your identity, and I'm sure you were saying like writing your act and writing jokes, and I've written all these books about parenting. It just like, it's so all consuming, right? And you got, especially when they're babies and then they're little kids and then they're, grade school kids and they're, and then all of a sudden, like, they're grown and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. I
Now
mean,
what?
you just,
Who am I?
the responsibility takes over your whole brain.
Yes.
Right. And then you do the things you're supposed to do, which is constantly checking, triple checking, all that kind of stuff. And then at some point, they can function without you. And you can pull back a little bit. And then it's just more and more pulling back. But I think you get because the first couple of years are so dangerous, anything, they can walk any place and run into anything and step on anything, that your brain just it grows this extra, sort of sense that now what do I do with it? No one needs me to save their life or make sure they don't run out into traffic or put that thing in their mouth or whatever. And that thing never goes away.
No, it doesn't. Like for me, I still have my kids on Life 360, and even like my older one. So my older daughter is at community college just for this year, and then she's going to be going away. But it's so hard because she still lives at home.
Yeah.
So I still feel like I need to know where she is all the time.
That's kind of
Just
how I
in
think
my head.
my thing will be too. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like at night, like if it's late at night and I'm like, well, I know she got off work a couple hours ago. Where is she?
Yeah.
Like, and I'll just check because it's like, it's
Me
not
too.
an invasion of her privacy in my mind. It's more like, well, I just want to make sure she's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Yeah.
not, she doesn't have a curfew.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, she is coming home. But I wonder if she lived at home or if she went to school and then came back and was living. I wonder if I'd be the same way.
Probably.
Would she let you track her if she went out of state to school?
I don't know. I have a friend whose son who went away to school, our friend Robin, and her son was like, no, you have to take me off Life 360 now. You can't track me anymore.
I would be devastated.
And she was like, okay. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be hard for me because I'm so used to just checking on them and making, I just want to know like they're okay.
Yeah.
But I know I'm going to be like looking, is she in her class right now or is she at her dorm right now? Like
it tells you specific. So I don't have Life 360 because my son usually forgets his phone. That's our separate issue, which is where I don't know where he is.
A teenager forget his phone.
I know.
No, I have what do you call it? The Find My People.
Okay. Right.
Find My Friends.
Yeah, Find My Friends.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll take me off.
Yeah, my kid also doesn't drive yet, so I'm sure when he starts driving, I will be tracking.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he drive? One of my kids is working hard at getting her license and the other one is not interested. My son does not care.
My son goes, I can walk to Popeyes. That's all he feels like he needs to drive to.
That's what my son basically said. I can walk wherever places that I need to go. I can walk there.
Yeah, my son has a car and he rarely drives it.
Wow.
He just walks everywhere. He likes to walk.
How in LA are we raising these New York City kids?
I don't get it.
It's weird. I know.
They are weird.
But my daughter will not walk anywhere. Like she needs her car.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a boy thing.
Yeah, maybe.
It might be. Because, yes, of my twins, my daughter is like hell bent on getting her license. And we're going, okay, slow down. You're not quite ready yet. Like but she wants to practice all the time, every day. She's like, let me drive. I mean, she has her permit. She wanted to get her permit the second she was old enough to get her permit. Yeah, and my son has not done. He signed up to get his permit on Driver's Direct, and then he still hasn't done even the online portion of it.
I'm trying to push now. It's interesting. I wonder if the girls, both of your girls seem like they want to be independent as quickly as possible. And I mentioned to my son last night, I'm like, I want you to get your driver's license before you're 18 so you can practice driving around here so that when you start driving to community college, you're more comfortable and you're more, and you're more independent. And his eyes didn't light up. He was more like, independent. Are you trying to kick me out? Like maybe they want to be mothered for a couple extra years. Right. I don't know.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah. There's like that saying that the Italian sons usually stay with their moms until they're like married.
I didn't realize I was Italian, but you know what?
But maybe, I don't know. Yeah, there's something about the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to remind you of something that and I'm trying to remember what year it was, but I feel like it was like 2016 that we did this thing together. We were both like, I think you had written Shitty Mom at this point.
Possibly,
and I had written my book. Maybe I had just finished doing the parental discretion, but we got hired to do a sketch for Pop Sugar. It was a website, but they were doing videos.
It was the old pivot to video that everyone thought would change the economy.
Yes. And the other girl that was in there with us was named Nikki. She did a podcast that was really big called, it was about her best friend dying of cancer and having sex, having this whole sexual reawakening while she was, Nikki.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm going to have to look that up. Kaylin, will you look this up for me? Nikki podcast about best friend having cancer, and it should come right up. It was a really big podcast.
Nikki Boyer?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What was the podcast called?
Dying for Sex?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Remember that? Anyway, she played, so we were all given these parts of like playing these certain types of moms.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
right.
were like, if it's Sex in the City, you were the Carrie. You were like the relatable mom who's like, oh my God, all these moms are crazy. Then there was like a drunk mom.
Right.
And there was like.
And we were at some sort of mom party, right?
We were
all kind of
dressed
up or something?
Yes,
It was a mess,
kind of.
right?
Yes, but we all had to like know the script, and yes, it was supposed to be a party scene. But what I really remember is that everybody was very. I was very, very scared politically of Trump, and everybody. I remember that. I couldn't, because of the way the conversation was, I couldn't figure out if you loved Trump or if you didn't. And I was like,
oh, wow.
I really wanted to ask, but it was one of those weird things where it kind of pitted people against people. If you were like, and I just remember we were all kind of obsessed with it, but I wasn't 100% sure what side you were on. So somehow I was like,
do you still have questions?
well, it's just so funny because you're the opposite. Because it took like a couple hours into the day before I said something that was like, "Oh, I can't remember what I asked," and you were like, "No, what the fuck? No, no, I hate him." Like, and then I was like, "Oh my God, okay, we can be friends." Because we were talking and like having fun, but you remember when it was just permeated the air? I mean, it was 2016.
Yeah.
People were tense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone stopped being tense.
No.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's even worse now.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, at the time, I just remember being like, it just felt so weird to just be at some house in like Palos Verdes with everything that was happening politically in the world and just being like, oh, we're just doing stupid mom shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Had you written Shitty Mom at that point?
It came out in 2012. So it was 2016 for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about like before having a kid, you were just doing stand-up. Or you were writing for Conan at that time?
I wrote for Tough Crowd. Before I got pregnant, I had written for Tough Crowd and a little bit on the Ferguson show, and then Too Late with Adam Carolla, I wrote on that show. Oh. And then that's where I met you very quickly at like the party at the end of the season.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I came back to New York and I got pregnant sometime during that. So I had a little bit of writing under my belt before I had the baby.
Oh, that's it.
And are you doing stand up now or because you just tell us about your special? Like that's really cool.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing stand up since 88, 87,
That's
88.
a long time.
Same.
Yeah.
But I stopped a long time ago. But yeah, that's about when I started.
That's my dream is to stop.
And where did you
But
where did you start?
San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just kept doing it, even throughout having a kid, and especially actually because it was such a wild nuclear bomb that I needed to talk about and stuff. So, yeah, it's just like an hour-long, snapshot. I talk about my mom dying of COVID. I have a chunk of material about that, about, parenting and being doxxed by Fox News watchers for doing an abortion joke on MSNBC. And
so
all this crazy stuff.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, you started tweeting when your dad was sick, right?
Yeah, right.
That was the first thing that happened.
Yeah.
And you started developing like a following.
Yeah, it was weird. My dad was, he was in hospice and with lung cancer, and I'm just stuck at the house. I didn't want to leave the house in case he died. I didn't want to like go out, do a set and come back and had missed my dad's last words or whatever. So I just started tweeting little jokes about what it was like to sit with your parent as they died. And because I couldn't tell them on stage at night. And then people started, paying attention to that kind of thing. And then,
did anybody big retweet you?
I think Patton did. Patton Oswalt.
Oh,
He's like,
okay.
holy shit, Laurie's dad's dying and she's tweeting about it. And so that directed a lot of attention to me. Yeah. And then I did a special about it and I wrote a book about it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I kind of did a similar thing when my mom got COVID. Because she lived with me. She moved in with me and she lived with me for 4 years and helped me with my son so I could run out and do sets without paying $50 to a babysitter. Mm-hmm. And so...
but you didn't get along with her that well.
We, as much as mother-daughters do, I mean, it's, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
mother-daughter.
Yeah.
And her own mom died when she was young, so she didn't she had all this stuff and never went to a day of therapy. And, so she had whatever. She had her issues. And she was, Republican, as a lot of her parents are. And so, yeah, we didn't get along in those ways. But, she loved my son. And so, she loved me too. It was just,
Right.
mother-daughter stuff. It's
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And we're in a 1,000 square foot house with one bathroom. So, you can't get away from anyone. So she had fallen, as old people do. And we took her to the hospital, and they sent her to a rehab center to, like a skilled nursing facility so she could rehab her leg a little bit. And that's where she got COVID. And so I started tweeting about that too. And that also, she died early in COVID. So I think a lot of people, if they were telling about their parents or whoever had died, it was afterwards. And I was sort of doing it during the whole, having them on the iPad and just taking the iPad around the house constantly and talking to them, even though she was unconscious. That whole, it was just it was June of 2020.
So she hadn't come home. She was still in the rehab place?
She never came home. So she went to the rehab place. She got COVID. They moved her over to Huntington Hospital in Pasadena. And then my sister is a psychiatrist. So she belongs to a women's physicians group on Facebook. And they lobbied for us to be able to go visit my mom. At the time, they were like, you can't visit. And Huntington was one of the last holdouts of letting people visit someone with COVID. We got them to let us go. And so we had to dress up head to toe in beekeeper outfits, and no skin was exposed. So we're holding our mom's hand with, plastic gloves and all that kind of stuff.
It's like it's Ebola.
Yes, exactly. We dressed for Ebola. Right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be brutal.
Yeah. But also fun in comedy terms. Yeah. So there's stuff about that on the special and whatever. Yeah.
So it seems almost like you believe that COVID's real.
I knew this podcast would take a turn.
Yeah, this is an intervention. It's not. It's not real. Wow. So you, I feel like, have mined comedy from lots of dark places. Have you always been like that?
Yeah, but I didn't have a ton of dark things happen. I mean, I guess I had. It's the usual. Coach, we've all, I'm sure, all been through that as young women, but I guess I was ready when the real shit hit the fan, to dive into talking about death and loss of a parent and all that kind of stuff. I was pretty ready for it comedically when it happened.
Right.
So.
Do you think that having a kid and talking about being a mom, do you think it's helped or hurt your stand-up?
I would say helped 100%. It just gives you something else in common with the audience. And then even if you're talking to, I'll do shows where the audience is in their 20s and none of them are parents and they may not even want to be, but they're very close to my son's age. So I kind of, you can kind of, you're not so disconnected from young people because you've got one or two or three in the house. And, so I don't know. For me, both ways, it helped me connect with audience members who were parents. And then I think it helps connect with younger audience members because you just have, I know the TV shows you watch.
Right.
I know the anime you watch.
Yeah.
I watch it too.
Yeah.
My son. So
Yeah.
I know kind of what you're talking about. Not everything, but kind of.
Right. So when you were in San Francisco, did you grow up there?
Walnut Creek. It's a suburb east of San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you always know you wanted to, when did you know you wanted to start stand-up? Because you obviously started young.
I started when I was 22, but it was only after seeing, I went and saw a bunch of comedy in San Francisco. It was a great place to see it. It still is. And, but only when I saw someone who wasn't very good, continued, I would see their name pop up on all the flyers and I'm like, but they're not even funny. I'm like, well, maybe I could try it. Yeah.
That is how I've done my whole career. I swear to God. you know Bonnie McFarlane.
I love Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
she and I really, it's one of my closest friends. And when we used to have this conversation all the time. I was like, that is the only way that I try anything new, that I do anything, is by going, well, there's somebody shittier.
Yes.
There's somebody shitty doing it. I used to wait tables at open mic nights at comedy clubs when I was too scared to try stand up. I worked at the Laugh Factory. I worked at Igby's. I worked at these clubs.
Igby's. Oh my God. Wow.
And I would see terrible comics and I would be like, you know what? If this person who's getting no laughs, I'm not going to be worse than that person. I may not be better than them, but I'm not going to be worse because that person just bombed, but they're doing the thing that I think I want to do. So that's how I would make myself do it.
I mean, if you ever read a novel that's described as hilarious and you're like, what?
Yes.
I smiled once. It was okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I started all right, writing a novel is a hard thing, so I haven't finished it, but I was like, the hilarious novels drive me insane because they're almost never funny.
Right. Okay, let's take a quick break and we're back.
Yeah.
That is so true. So I just set expectations low for myself. And then I'm like, okay, that went fine.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But comedians, I think it's easier to write something that's funny because we have, our not that funny is still funnier than somebody who's not a funny person's most funny.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you started out, was your group like Margaret Cho, Greg Barron?
Yes, I was just going to say, after you said Margaret, I'm like Greg, Tony Kameen, Kevin Kataoka, Karen Anderson. Karen Anderson was like one of the founding, writers of Ellen's afternoon, show.
Yes.
Who else? Ray James, Dave Anthony. We were all, in various nights hanging out at the Holy City Zoo waiting for our turn.
Wow.
And then when did you move to LA?
Let's see. I go back and forth, but I moved here for Conan in 2011, basically.
Oh, okay.
How did you get that? That's amazing.
Just I had done packets for him a couple times for actually all 3 shows, and so the TBS show is the one that did it. But I had tried to get on late night, and I tried to get on the Tonight Show.
Mm-hmm. And was it fun? How long did you work on Conan?
The whole run of the show.
Really?
So 2010, or I guess it's 2010 to 2021, so 11 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was fun. I mean, the last, year was hard because of COVID and stuff. And it just, we when we ended in June of 21, it was after everyone a lot of people had gotten vaccinated, but right before people started being angry about vaccines and right before the Delta variant. So it was that feeling of we're free, we're done with this nightmare, right? And so we had live shows at Largo, and they were really, really fun. But it was like over a year of everyone on Zoom meetings and Zoom shows, and it was so weird to when we left the office in March of 2020. It was like we're going off on a hiatus week, and I just remember saying, we might not be back for a little while, because no one really knew what the COVID thing was. It was kind of like sneaking up on us. And then the next time I was back was when they had taken the studio down already. And they had like the whole set, the whole Conan set was just piles of wood in the studio.
Oh, wow.
I remember I peeked in and I was like, I wish I hadn't, because it looked like a bomb had exploded. And then, because we all were let in to grab our stuff out of our offices, offices
so
one
sad.
at a time. Yeah, it was like, oh, this isn't the way anyone wanted it to end,
Yeah.
But that's how it did end.
How-
But it was a great job. I really loved it.
Yeah. Did he call it quits? Or
He did. Yeah, I think, I think COVID accelerated, it was just, everyone was tired of working from home and everything. But I think he really loved doing the podcast. He started his podcast and he didn't have to do hair or makeup, and he could have these really long conversations and he could be more himself. Yeah. And if you listen to the podcast, like, that's exactly how he is all the time at work. just kind of always ball busting, but funny and self-deprecating and stuff. And I think he, the constraints of an hour-long show and then a half-hour long show, or you have like 2 or 3 minutes max with somebody, and you can't be your true self. Because you have tourists that were culled from some boulevard and put, it's so.
Right.
I think it's more fun, and I think he, really just enjoyed that. And he had, I don't know, I guess because he'd been doing this show since the early '90s, so he'd never really had that, time off. Like he had a whole family, and he never really had more than 2 weeks off to hang out with his kids and stuff like that. So I think he really enjoyed that. So that probably also led to him deciding not to do it anymore. And also late night as a genre is just changing so quickly and so much. Like no one watches it when it airs, or the people that do watch it when it airs are, aging and will be dying soon.
Right.
And everyone else kind of watches it as the clips come up,
Right.
So the future
true.
of late night is also, it's not locked in. You kind of don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you feel like, what am I going to do?
Yes.
With the rest?
Every day. I mean, right now I'm just doing stand up on the road, and it's okay. I love it. It's really fun. Money wise, it's okay. It's quite a hit from what I was making on Conan, but my expenses haven't really changed. So, I'm going through savings quicker than I wanted to, and going, oh my God, I can touch my IRA in a year. Okay. I wanted to put that off till I was like 80 and not grab it at 59 and a half in a day. But, you never know.
Yeah.
Do you want to write on another show, or
I would love it. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah.
It's hard because it has all really changed, and the type of shows that there are to write on are like, that's changing. There aren't, like you said, there aren't these kind of late night shows, or if they are, they're very transient. They're trying something new and then they're off, and it's hard. I mean,
and coming back from the strike, I think everyone was like, all right, here we go. And I don't know, like studios are like, I don't know. Maybe we'll just show reruns for 10 years and teach you guys a lesson. So everything's really, although someone told me that was because of the looming IATSE strike. If IATSE strikes, then everything shuts down again. It's like, guys, like the Writers Guild got almost everything they asked for. The SAG got most of what they asked for. Like, you're going to give IATSE pretty much what they asked for.
Right.
So let's just do it.
Yeah.
And get back in business.
Yes.
What's with these months-long delays that hurt everybody,
Right.
except the CEO who gets, Zaslav got like a huge extra bonus for killing the industry.
Yeah.
It's
but
weird.
I mean, television's changed so much.
Yeah.
Like, there's not any sitcoms that are huge anymore.
I know.
Like, there's not, there's
Abbott Elementary is the one that's broken through, that I think everyone's seen at least once.
Right.
And some people watch all the time, but everything
Right.
else is like, stuff's been on for 7 seasons, and I just hear of it because of a tweet that comes through.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Right.
How are you on CBS for 7 seasons? I don't know.
Exactly.
It's really weird.
I know. It is. And like even like Modern Family had such a good long run.
Yeah.
And then, there really just isn't any like must-see TV really anymore.
Yeah.
Like it used to be.
Right.
And I guess it's our attention span maybe, or even just seeing clips instead online, like Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. Like, I don't even need to watch it because I come across his
You'll get it. Yeah.
clips, all of them.
Right.
I see I basically saw his whole Monday night show on Instagram.
Right.
It just keeps coming up, you know. So yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so much more to watch too.
Yes.
So many more channels that we're not all watching the same things. Like,
Right.
It's weird when I think of the references my kid and your kids too have, like, it's not common references. I'm watching The Americans with my son, and So have you seen that show at all?
No. Is it good?
Oh, it's so good. It's my third time watching the whole thing. But it's about these were real life, although the show isn't about the actual couple. But Russians would they would they would train KGB agents to be completely Americanized, and they would just infiltrate the United States. And there were some that lived like in DC or Jersey and all that kind of stuff. And so this is about a couple that are Russian KGB agents, and they live as Americans, and they live across the street from an FBI agent who's hunting Russians. And it's a great show, but it also takes place during the Reagan administration. And I'm like, just explaining a lot of stuff because I lived through that. This is I'm the same age as Paige, the daughter. She's a couple years younger than me, and so it's just I keep going. And I was at a show last week where a friend of mine referenced the fall of Saigon. You know, it's the last helicopter out of Saigon, and I'm like, our kids aren't even going to know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
Like I'm like, you'd almost have to do the Afghanistan war to get, do they even, I don't know. It just, their history and their sense of what a common reference is so different from us. And we have so much in our brains that they're never gonna, we'll never feel comfortable or like secondhand knowledge to them. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And maybe every generation goes through this though.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I think about the fact that so many people don't, like 9/11 feels like yesterday to me.
I know, and it's like this dumb thing they have to learn in history.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like how we learned about
JFK.
Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's still Pearl Harbor people alive? Whoa, wow.
Right,
but they were
right.
thousands of years old. And we're the Pearl Harbor people now.
Right.
You know,
Right,
that we
right,
could talk about 9/11. It's so weird.
It is.
I mean, because 9/11 is not just, I mean, that was a humongous thing. I was writing on a show. It was, I mean, we didn't go to work that day. And then when we went to work, all of the writers were like in a room crying together, and everybody knew somebody, and people were like, and we had a British boss. I was working at Whose Line Is It Anyway? And our boss came in and he was like, well, I know you're all very upset about this, but there is a show to write. Let's get back to work. And we were like, this fucking guy, he doesn't get it. He's not American, Oh,
and he probably grew up in London after the bombing. So he's they went through World War II in their own city,
Right.
So
Right.
they don't care.
But it's just like, I remember, the world changed that day. And like, a lot of people were not even born yet.
Oh,
I know.
yeah,
I
that's
lived
crazy.
in New York City on 9/11, and just that whole week
you
afterwards of people had put in their handmade posters of their loved ones all over New York City. And like maybe like 1 or 2 days, for a day or two, you're like, well, maybe they're trapped under the rubble and they'll be found. And then each day that goes on, you're like, oh, this person's dead, this child's dead, this mom's dead. Like by the end of the week, it was like just, these pictures of looking for became like unspoken obituaries of these people.
It's so haunting when you think
crazy.
about it. Like Adam's agent at the time lived in New York in one of the suburbs, and he told us that like 7 guys on his street didn't come home that night. Were gone. Wow. Yeah. That's and like 7 neighbors. I'll never, like, just that tiny tidbit just stuck in my, it just felt so, yeah. And then they went to New York like a week after for like the Hugh Hefner roast. Adam and Jimmy.
Geez. Oh my God.
Adam and Jimmy went on. Yeah, they went, and I was supposed to go, and I was like, fuck no, I ain't getting on a plane. No way. I ain't going to New York. Have fun. Like, I was looking forward to it, but I was like, oh no, hell, I was not flying anytime soon.
Right.
And then Adam told me that Jimmy was like, they were like sitting near the front of the plane, and Jimmy was like, we're gonna take anybody down, and anybody. He's like, Adam, you're a big guy, you're a boxer. Roll. We're gonna roll. He's like, anybody. He's like, I got my eye on that cockpit, and Adam's like, as soon as we take off, Jimmy's like, his mouth is open, he's passed out, he's sound asleep, he's like snoring. Out.
I love when men plan to take down kidnappers and whatever. Yeah.
Right. We'll fuck them up.
Like terrorists. Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, 9/11. And I try and teach my kids some, like, every year it comes around and there's like the specials on TV. I'm like, your parents grew, like I was working at ABC during this time. Like, yeah, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't feel as close to them as World War I feels as close to them as 9/11 does.
Right. Right.
Let's take another quick break. But then they all knew where they were when JoJo Siwa said she was gay.
Well, I guess that's a mother of daughter thing. I only learned who she was later, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, in a way, it does make us hipper, though. In the watching Quiet on the Set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which
I didn't watch it. It just seemed so disturbing. Yeah.
Well, I almost felt like it was my not 9/11, but in the way of like, I lived through all those shows because iCarly, all those shows that Dan Schneider was in charge of, were from my kids watching TV era.
Right.
Drake and Josh, and like, you pick it up through osmosis. You don't necessarily have to sit down and watch it. But I mean, my kids were raised on, the iCarly and Victorious and all these, and Bunked, and what's the one with Debbie? Oh my God, what's her name?
Jesse?
Yeah. Hey, Jesse. And those theme songs are firmly implanted in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that when something like Quiet on the Set, I'm like, I almost feel like I was a kid of that era.
Right.
Just being the mom of that era. But our kids don't have that same thing with adult stuff. But this is why I believe that our memories are so bad, is because we know too much shit. Like, we've lived through too much. We have so much information that our kids don't have.
Yeah.
They don't have to remember as much stuff as we do. So that's why when we come across new information, we have to lose a little bit of old information.
Yeah. How much gray matter do you have?
Yeah, I know.
Mean, we're not built for this.
Right. Exactly. So, okay. So you'd like to write on a show again, just for that, that daily, like,
I like the collaboration.
Yeah.
I like the money. I like
fun.
the health insurance, but also, like, it's fun to write comedy, and for late night, it's fun to write it that day and see it on TV that night. And it's the whole immediacy of it is really fun. It is weird to see. I've never worked on like a half-hour show, but the delay and the constant tweaking. Like, at some point, you don't have time to tweak something because the show starts in 4 minutes, and so it is how it is, and you can't tweak it.
Right.
And so sometimes stuff goes out raw and like awful, but it's also nice to just go, it's done.
Yeah.
Stop talking about it and just
right.
Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Were there a lot of women on the staff of Conan?
Yeah, there were more. I was the first one of the TBS crew, and then Jessie Gaskell came a little bit later, and Leah Krinsky.
I remember Leah Krinsky.
Yeah. I think she's also a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist, maybe psychologist or therapist, something where, she can help you. And I think she's doing that again.
That's cool.
I'm like,
Writing
I wish
comedy
I had
help
that
you.
skill.
It's a good skill to have.
It really is. Yeah. I
With
mean,
comedy too. That's good.
it's better than comedy writing right now, for sure.
I feel like I never had, I don't know if you feel the same way, something else I could do. Because I wanted to be a comedian when I was, in my very early 20s.
Yeah.
And I thought, I just want to be a comedian and that's it. And then when I was a comedian, I was like, okay, I kind of like this, but it's also, I don't like the feeling of being scared every single time I do it. And that was my thing. I would just get so nervous, and I just didn't like that. But it was like, well, what else can I? The only other thing that was like comedy adjacent was writing. And then so once I got into writing, it was like, well, I have to keep doing this because there's nothing else. I would not be happy. I couldn't just go be a psychiatrist, like as if anybody could.
Yeah.
I mean, I am part-time psychiatrist, but I didn't go to school. That's just based on instinct.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm just saying, like, I can't imagine like going back to school and trying to do something different.
I know. I don't know
God
either.
bless people that did,
Yeah.
but I'm stuck.
Yeah. But it's like, what profession are we stuck in right now? Like, it doesn't, part of me is like, I got to finish my spec script. And I'm like, do I? What's happening?
Right.
So I'm sort of like leaning into stand up and posting a lot of clips and all that kind of stuff.
What was it like writing for the correspondence dinner?
Oh, it was just Conan. It was Conan, when
when he
Conan
did
was
it.
hosting it. It was fun.
That's fun.
And I have a screenshot of Conan telling a joke about Mitt Romney, and the camera went to Obama, and he's laughing, but it's that laugh of I shouldn't be laughing at this, and I'm like, ooh, I love it. So
Yeah.
that was
That must
pretty
have been fun.
Yeah.
Tell us the story about the abortion joke. I know you talked about it on Marin, but I don't know if there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I just was, MSNBC has these shows where you can zoom in as a guest, and sometimes they have comedians as guests. It was Eamon's show on Sunday night. It was Mother's Day night. And, I don't know. My son was like 15. At this point, Mother's Day's over. I have to remind him
Right.
to give me something. And
Right.
He'll draw something for me.
Right. If they're not in elementary school, forget it.
Yeah. And so it was the weekend that they leaked that Roe was going to be overturned. If you remember that weekend, everyone was like, what the fuck?
Yes.
And so I just made a dumb little joke about it, about who the leaker was. And that joke really angered a lot of people. And
What
I
was
think
the joke?
it's not that good of a joke. That's why I hate repeating it. But I said, I hope the leaker's a Republican because I want to find him, have sex with him, get pregnant, and joyfully abort the fetus. Okay. That was it.
Right. It was more like a quip.
It's a quip. It wasn't, I wouldn't even it was more like an a low voice little quip to move the conversation. It wasn't like ta-da. And that got clipped out on a bunch of right-wing talk shows, like Facebook shows. And then that got all the way up to Sean Hannity, and he did a segment on me.
Oh, my God.
And,
Like a whole segment.
yeah, with Lara Trump and
Oh, my God.
Pam Bondi, who's the former Attorney General of Florida and was the one that let him off on the fraud case,
Yes.
the Trump University, which had she not done that, had she prosecuted him, he may not even have, gone the next step to run for president. So
So then what happened? So how did you find out that Sean Hannity did it?
text.
So was it like you said it that night, and then the next day everything was just
How soon was it?
Said it Sunday night, and no one watches MSNBC on Mother's Day night. I got
Definitely
zero.
not. I watch MSNBC religiously, and I don't even know that show.
Yeah. So I think maybe my manager like, hey, flipping through the channel, saw you, whatever. I got zero feedback whatsoever. And then somebody in MSNBC put the clip on Mediaite. Mediaite's this site where it's a little troll farm.
Yes.
And so they said comedian said they called me a guest. They said guest or maybe woman, Democrat, something where I sounded like I was a spokesperson for Obama instead of a stand-up comic.
Right.
Like guest says she joyfully abort Republican fetus or something like that, which of course that's going to get picked up by
Right.
Republicans.
Right.
And so that's how it got into the system. The system of the anger system. MSNBC did it. It wasn't like Crowder was
wow.
watching their show. They helped. They're psychotic. Both, both sides of it to me. What they feed and what they keep going, and they're just constantly shoveling coal into the.
Yeah, it's a whole machine.
I don't. Yeah, I need the metaphor, the oven or whatever,
Right.
but to
Right.
keep it going.
Right.
So then Sean Hannity does it like the next night,
He did a Monday night. Yeah.
Wow.
and then somebody texted you.
Yeah, someone was like, "Are you watching this?" Or I'm like, "No, I'm not." What are you talking about? And then I saw it, of course, and then just the emails for several days were so vicious and rude and mean, and
How were people
threatening.
finding you? Were they tweeting at you and they found your email?
I think I had my email on my website.
So you were getting random, not people.
Oh yeah,
like
just random
agents
stuff.
or
Yeah.
anything. It was
there's this one guy, and I responded to a lot of them. and then got in fights with them, and I'm like, this is not a good use of my time. But I always, I do like to fight with people. So before I get tired, because then it's like, it feels like it's one man, but his head has been put into 20,000 different men. So they all say the same thing, right?
I
So
mean, some of it could be bots. I tell
know.
myself that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
to keep that rage going, I
Yeah.
think there are bots that do respond in a similar
Possibly.
vein.
I mean, AI bots or something.
yeah. But go on.
So this one guy in Florida was like outraged. He and his wife were never able to have children. It's like, all right. So I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm a comedian. So, well, I don't know. I just kind of pleasantly responded. And then he's like, I can't believe you replied to me. But then he goes, but since you're a computer expert, like the fact that I responded to his email let him think that I was a
Next
programmer.
level tech. Yeah. And he goes, how did you find my email? Yeah. You must be some sort of demon woman.
Are you at the CIA? Yes, I replied. He goes, whenever I go on the internet, there's these ads for gay cruises.
Wow.
Which we know means he's looking at gay porn.
Exactly.
But he doesn't know that. And I'm like, well, is there someone else that has access to your computer? Maybe a handyman? I gave him every out. I'm like, maybe someone's looking at gay porn on your computer?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll look into it. Thank you. And then we never spoke again.
My God. That's funny.
That's amazing.
I love that.
You should have said, like, have your wife, it sounds like this is like email me so she can also express her displeasure at me and she and I can talk. See if I can help. That's hilarious.
Wow.
So it kind of died down after like a week, but for a while it was scary and people threatening me and stuff. And I ended up getting like a Simply Safe home security system, which is not cheap. And then, but then it's sort of, it's like, it's very intense. And then they are directed by the shows they watch to be mad about something else. And then they go away.
They go on to something else. Yeah.
Did you learn your lesson, or do you still would you still be happy to do a joke like that?
I would not, I talk about I did abortion jokes and stuff, but I don't think I would go on MSNBC. I was very disappointed that they participated. Like, no one asked about me. No one said, oh, sorry, this is all happening. Because they contributed to it. So I would not appear on any of those shows again.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, tell us about, before we go, your special. Mm-hmm. It's called Woke. Cis Woke Grief Slut.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I named it that because there's a chunk about trans women that's positive.
Yes, I
and
love
how
that.
Cis women need them. And I just wanted to do that to sort of offset, the guys in my age range that are coming at that issue from the other side. And it was like,
I was so happy I mean, I just loved your special so much. I want everybody to watch it because there is so much of that, like, Joe Rogan crowd, right. And a lot of comedians that are kind of railing against cancel culture, to me, for the wrong reasons. There is cancel culture and it's not great, but some people are worried that they're getting canceled for the wrong reasons. It's like, well, stop punching down. And I felt like your special was sort of the opposite of that. It was like basically explaining without explaining that we should punch up and not punch down. And I thought that, but it also with lots of jokes and not being afraid to talk about things that, talking about porn, talking about your son watching porn, or that whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I most of what I talk about on stage or joke about is stuff that happens to me, but also when I just see something that irritates me in current culture, I'll talk about that too. So I guess that little chunk of material about trans women is kind of me reacting to everyone else reacting to something that isn't them. It's like, we should only actually be hearing from trans women about trans women. Why am I talking about it? And why are all these straight guys talking? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
why? Well,
Yes.
all right, I'm going to talk about it because you're talking about it. And I'll do a positive from my little corner of the world, you know?
That's
Yeah.
great. Where
So-
did you film it?
The El Portal Theater.
Nice.
In NoHo. Yeah, right around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
El Portal.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
this
nice.
is what's the company that you did this special?
Comedy Dynamics.
Comedy Dynamics.
Yeah.
So how did that work?
They filmed like 17 specials in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Like I was the fourth one that night, and I could tell like everyone was super tired. You know?
And your special's an hour long.
Yeah,
A full
all
hour.
of them were. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Was it a lot of material that you already had, or when you got the special, were you like having to go on tour and workshop a bunch of material?
I think I got it maybe like in December. I mean, I'm always just trying to write more stuff, so it's not like, oh, now I'll write. I'm always tinkering with things and trying to get more material because I get bored with older stuff, and the sooner I can dump it, the better. So I was like, oh, I can dump a bunch of material on the special and never tell it again. That's good. And although I'm still telling some of it because I'm not a fast writer. It takes me years to write a new hour. So sorry, everybody. I don't flip it around. I'm not a storyteller, you know? I mean, I'm a joke writer. Sometimes I'll organize the jokes so they seem like a story, but each one is hard won. And it's not, it's not like, I wish I was a storyteller. When I watch, I'm like, I don't have the patience for it. After a certain amount of time, I'm like, I'm not getting a laugh. I need a joke. And so I don't kind of relax into longer stories. So it takes me a long time to turn an hour over.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
So
okay.
you can find the special on Apple.
Oh, it's on Amazon Prime. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's on YouTube. It's on Vimeo. If you're out of the United States, you can watch it on Vimeo. I think starting April 30th. It's the first 3 months you had to pay to rent it or buy it. So I think on May 1st is month 4, and it might be free.
Oh, perfect.
So you can watch it on YouTube with ads. You will pay for. You'll pay for it somehow.
Yeah.
there will be
you'll
ads.
pay. You'll pay.
But if
Okay.
you have Amazon Prime, it's free.
So it's called
great.
Cis Woke Grief Slut.
Yeah.
Also, your Instagram is Laurie16.
Yes. Again, did not realize how much I'd be needing Instagram, or I probably would have just used my name, but oh well.
That's okay. Laurie16.
Yeah.
And your Twitter or X, is also Laurie16. And your
Yeah.
website is Laurie, Laurie, Kilmartin.com. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Laurie.
Thanks, you guys. This was really
so
fun.
fun.
Super fun. And please go download her special if you still have to pay for it, or watch it for free if you don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Bye. You're a parent now.
Don't F it up.